Excitebike was one of my childhood favorites. Zipping along, pulling off those big jumps, and making your own crazy tracks to give yourself a real challenge. It's a simple game, hence the short video, but there's a real charm to it, and when it was released there was nothing else quite like it out there. You've got your motocross racer on a 4-lane track. No splitting lanes for you, you just stick to those 4. A runs your motor normally, but B over-revs your motor, giving you more speed in exchange for potentially overheating it. If you want a good time on the tracks, you have to run hot constantly. You'll cool down when you run over one of these track markers, but sometimes you'll just need to back off, or you'll wind up sitting beside the track waiting for your motor to cool down. Leaning the bike backward and forward is the key to taking jumps well. You want to tilt the bike so that it matches the surface that it's going to land on. Come down wrong and you might bounce, losing a bit of speed, or worse, crash. If you do crash and get thrown from the bike, tapping the A button rapidly will get you back on quicker. The tracks are really what make Excitebike fun. You wouldn't think that they could put so much variety into what's essentially a bike jump, but with around a dozen basic ramps, Nintendo combined them in many ways to make jumps that require a bit of thought to do well. There's 5 tracks in Excitebike, and each of them bring their own distinct challenges. Although track 1 is set up as the learner's course, I've always found track 3 to be the easiest, since many of the obstacles are the speed bumps that you have to just wheelie over. When you start the game, you're given the choice to begin at any of the 5 tracks, but regardless of which one you choose, you have to qualify on that track first. So you'll play the first track you choose twice in a row, and then after that you'll play through the remaining tracks. If you beat track 5, then track 5 just repeats. Game mode A is strictly a time trial. It's just you and the track. Game mode B introduces other racers on the track. Although they can interfere with you, for the most part the AI on those just tries to avoid dirt and mud holes. You can knock over the other bikers by letting your rear wheel collide with their front wheel, which sends them tumbling. I kind of find the other racers on the track to be more irritating than challenging to deal with. They come across as annoyances in your way rather than actual competitors. You're not jockeying for position, you're just trying to improve your time because that's the only thing Excitebike ranks you on. And then we have design mode. I have to wonder if Nintendo was influenced by Hudson including design modes in their 2 games. But at the same time, Family Basic had been released earlier that year, and Nintendo may have been looking for something else to use their peripherals with. Design mode gives you all of the elements that Nintendo used to build their tracks, and you can lay them out however you want. You can build some pretty long courses with it, too. Once you've placed the ending, you get to choose how many laps you make people run of it. You're not limited to 2 laps like the other Excitebike courses are. The Famicom version lets you save your courses to the Famicom data recorder, a tape drive that was intended for saving programs made in Family Basic. Sadly, that's a peripheral I don't have, so I can't demonstrate that for you. Excitebike had an odd legacy. Like many of Nintendo's releases in '84, it was ported to the arcade as Versus Excitebike. Now that arcade version got ported back to the Famicom Disk System, also as Versus Excitebike. That version of Excitebike has extra tracks, as well as a multiplayer mode. Excitebike was pretty popular on the Famicom, and I can totally get why. It's fun, it's fast to play, and it's got that community aspect to it with the level sharing. Over 1.5 million copies were sold, and it was the 13th best-selling Famicom game of all time. The worst thing I have to say about it is that for the premium that they're charging, they should have put in some extra memory chips and doubled the number of tracks. One more thing before I wrap up. Excitebike brings 1984 to a close. The Famicom boom has begun, and 1985 is going to see it in full force.